The maintenance tunnels beneath New Aurora Colony stretched endlessly like steel veins, their walls slick with condensation from the terraforming processors above. Commander Talia Reed's boots echoed against the metal grating as she led her inspection team deeper into the underground network. The colony's 10th anniversary approached, and she was determined to ensure every system functioned perfectly for the celebration. "Ma'am, these readings don't make sense," Lieutenant Torres called out, frowning at his scanner. "We're picking up heat signatures where there shouldn't be any active systems." Talia paused, her augmented eye adjusting to the dim light. After 15 years in the Colonial Defense Force, she'd learned to trust her instincts. Something felt off about these tunnels, beyond the unusual readings. "Split up and secure the perimeter," she ordered, her hand resting on her pulse pistol. "Report anything unusual immediately." As her team dispersed through the branching corridors, Talia followed the strongest heat signature. The tunnel grew narrower, forcing her to duck under hanging pipes and step carefully over bundled cables. The air grew warmer, carrying an unfamiliar scent. Something cooking? She rounded a corner and stopped dead in her tracks. Before her stretched an impossible sight, a makeshift living space carved from the industrial maze. Salvaged panels formed walls, creating a small room illuminated by repurposed emergency lights. A portable heating unit hummed softly, explaining the heat signature. But what caught her attention was the man. He sat at a workbench, his powerful upper body bent over some delicate piece of machinery. Where his legs should have been, there was only empty space, his body ending at the waist. A modified maintenance cart beside him explained how he navigated the tunnels. "You're a long way from your usual inspection route, Commander," he said without looking up, his voice rough from disuse but carrying an unexpected warmth. Talia's training kicked in as she assessed the situation. "You know who I am?" He finally turned to face her, and she saw intelligence burning in his eyes despite his disheveled appearance. "I make it my business to know who comes through my tunnels. Name's Vance. Former engineer on the Genesis project before." He gestured to his missing lower half with a bitter smile. "The Genesis project?" Talia's breath caught. The experimental terraforming initiative had ended in disaster 5 years ago, claiming hundreds of lives. The official report cited equipment malfunction, but rumors persisted of sabotage. The same. Vance turned back to his work. "Now I maintain these tunnels, keep the systems running smooth. Nobody notices because nobody looks down here. Until today." Talia studied the space around them more carefully. She spotted dozens of repair drones, each modified with impressive skill. Components salvaged from the colony's waste were transformed into useful tools. This man hadn't just survived down here, he'd created a purpose. "These modifications," she gestured to a nearby drone. "They're incredible. You did all this yourself?" "Had to," Vance replied, setting down his tools. "The colony's systems need constant maintenance, more than your topside crews can handle. I do what I can from down here." Talia's mind raced with possibilities. The colony had been experiencing mysterious system improvements over the past year, efficiency increases that engineering couldn't explain. Now she knew why. "You've been helping us all this time, without anyone knowing?" Vance shrugged. "The colony needs to survive. That's what matters." In that moment, Talia made a decision that would change both their lives. "Come with me to the surface." Vance's laugh was hollow. "Look at me, Commander. I'm hardly fit for colonial society. The medical center has made incredible advances in cybernetic prosthetics," Talia pressed. "Dr. Singh's work is revolutionary. You could walk again." "And then what?" Vance challenged, but she caught a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Then you help us officially. The colony needs engineers with your skills, especially with the strange malfunctions we've been experiencing lately." Vance's head snapped up. "What kind of malfunctions?" Systems operating outside normal parameters, communication glitches, power fluctuations. Our teams can't identify the cause. Vance was quiet for a long moment, his fingers absently tracing patterns on his workbench. Finally, he looked up at Talia with determination in his eyes. There's something bigger going on, isn't there? Something you're not telling me. Talia hesitated, then nodded. We've detected unusual signals from the outer sectors. They match patterns from before the Genesis disaster. The air between them grew heavy with unspoken implications. Vance's hands clenched into fists, then relaxed. When do we leave? Talia smiled, already reaching for her communicator. Right now. Lieutenant Torres, I need a medical transport to my location immediately. As they waited for the transport, Talia watched Vance gather a few precious tools. She couldn't shake the feeling that finding him wasn't just luck, it was destiny. The colony faced unknown threats, and they needed every capable hand to face what was coming. Little did she know that bringing Vance to the surface would set in motion events that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the Genesis disaster, the colony's future, and humanity's place among the stars. Dr. Renata Singh stood before the holographic display, studying the intricate web of neural pathways that would connect Vance's nervous system to his new cybernetic legs. After 3 weeks of preparation, today would mark either a triumph or failure for her revolutionary biotechnology. The nanite integration is holding steady, she reported, glancing at Talia, who hadn't left the medical center's observation room since the procedure began. His body's accepting the neural interface better than we anticipated. Through the observation window, Vance lay suspended in the regeneration chamber, a soft blue glow emanating from the specialized fluid surrounding him. Countless microscopic machines worked to prepare his body for the cybernetic integration, strengthening tissue and creating the necessary neural connections. He's strong, Talia said softly, her augmented eye whirring as it analyzed the medical readouts. Stronger than anyone I've met. Renata nodded, making minute adjustments to the nanite programming. Living in those tunnels for 5 years, maintaining complex systems with limited resources, it takes a special kind of determination. The procedure room's door slid open as Chief Engineer Marcus Wong entered, carrying a sealed container that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. Inside were Vance's new legs, a masterpiece of engineering and biotechnology. Final diagnostics are complete, Marcus announced, placing the container on a sterile workstation. These aren't just prosthetics, they're an evolution. The quantum computing core will allow for instantaneous response time, while the adaptive learning algorithms will help him master them quickly. Talia studied the sleek titanium alloy limbs. And the special modifications I requested? Marcus grinned. Integrated perfectly. Enhanced strength, speed, and sensory input, plus a few surprises. If what you suspect about those signals is true, he'll need every advantage we can give him. A soft chime from the regeneration chamber drew their attention. Vance's vital signs were showing increased activity, he was waking up. It's time, Renata announced, initiating the drainage sequence. Marcus, prepare the cybernetics. Talia, I need you to be ready. The first moments of consciousness are crucial. As the regeneration fluid receded, Vance's eyes fluttered open. His gaze immediately found Talia, and a ghost of a smile crossed his face. Did I miss anything interesting? He asked, voice hoarse but strong. Just the easy part, Talia replied, stepping closer to the chamber. The real work begins now. Over the next several hours, Renata and her team worked with precision to attach the cybernetic legs. Each neural connection had to be perfect, each synthetic muscle calibrated exactly. Vance remained conscious throughout the procedure, his face a mask of concentration as he focused on establishing the initial neural links. Finally, Renata stepped back, her eyes bright with exhaustion and hope. Try to move your right foot. The room held its breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, deliberately, the cybernetic foot flexed. Vance's eyes widened at the sensation. "I can feel it," he whispered. "Not just the movement, I can feel pressure, temperature, everything." "The sensory integration is working perfectly," Renata confirmed, checking the neural readings. "Your brain is accepting the new input streams. Ready to try standing?" With Talia and Marcus's support, Vance swung his new legs over the edge of the medical bed. The cybernetic limbs moved smoothly, responding to his thoughts as if they'd always been part of him. Taking a deep breath, he pushed himself up. He stood. For the first time in 5 years, Vance stood on his own 2 feet. The quantum processors in his new legs automatically adjusted for balance, keeping him steady as his body remembered what it felt like to be whole. "Take your time," Renata cautioned. "The adaptive algorithms need to." Vance took a step forward, then another. Each movement became more confident as the learning algorithms adjusted to his natural gait. Soon he was walking around the room, a look of wonder on his face. "This is incredible," he breathed. "They feel so natural, so responsive." Talia watched him with barely contained joy, but her expression sobered as her communicator chimed. The message that flashed across her augmented vision made her blood run cold. "Vance," she called out, her tone urgent. "Those signals we detected? They're getting stronger. And now we're picking up energy signatures that match the Genesis disaster exactly." Vance stopped his exploration of his new abilities, turning to face her with determination in his eyes. "How long until I'm combat ready?" "The cybernetics need at least a week to fully integrate," Renata protested, but Marcus cut her off. "The emergency protocols are already programmed in," he said. With the quantum core's learning capability, he could be operational in days. "Then that's what we'll do," Vance declared. "I lost everything in the Genesis disaster. If there's even a chance of preventing history from repeating itself, I have to try." As if in response to his words, the colony's warning systems suddenly blared to life. Red emergency lights bathed the medical center in an ominous glow. "Multiple breaches detected in the outer sectors," the automated system announced. "Unknown energy signatures approaching the colony." Talia and Vance shared a look of grim determination. Their time had just run out. Whatever was coming, they would face it together, a commander who'd never back down from a fight and a man reborn through the gift of hope and technology. The true test of Vance's new abilities, and their growing connection, was about to begin. The training simulator's holographic environment shimmered around Vance as he moved through the obstacle course with increasing speed. 3 days had passed since the cybernetic integration, and his mastery of the quantum-enhanced legs had surpassed everyone's expectations, except perhaps Talia's. Reaction time improved by another 15%, Marcus announced from the control room, his voice filled with pride. "The adaptive algorithms are evolving faster than we projected." Vance launched himself over a virtual barrier, his cybernetic legs automatically adjusting thrust and angle for a perfect landing. The quantum processors allowed him to calculate trajectories and adjust movements in microseconds, turning his body into a precision instrument. "Incoming." Talia's voice crackled through the comm as combat drones materialized around him. Vance didn't hesitate. He spun, the enhanced servos in his legs allowing him to move faster than any natural human. His fists, still flesh and blood but powered by the momentum of his cybernetic lower body, shattered the first drone. The others fell in quick succession as he demonstrated the full capabilities of his augmented agility. When the simulation ended, Talia entered the training floor, her augmented eye scanning his biometrics. "Your combat efficiency is remarkable. How do they feel?" "Like they were always part of me," Vance replied, rolling his shoulders to release the tension. "But something's still bothering me about these energy signatures we're detecting. They're familiar, but different somehow." Before Talia could respond, Dr. Singh burst into the training room, her usual composed demeanor shaken. "Commander, you need to see this. Both of you." They followed Renata to her laboratory, where multiple holographic displays showed data streams from the colony's outer sensors. "I've been analyzing the pattern of the energy signatures," she explained, manipulating the displays. "They're not just similar to the Genesis disaster, they're an evolution of the same technology." Vance's hands clenched into fists. "That's impossible. The project was completely destroyed." "Not destroyed," came a new voice. They turned to see Director Hadrian Pierce standing in the doorway, his aged face grave. "Stolen." Talia stepped forward. "Sir, what are you saying?" Pierce sighed heavily. "The Genesis project wasn't just about terraforming. We were developing technology that could reshape matter at the quantum level. But someone leaked information to a group of extremists, people who believed humanity shouldn't be spreading to other worlds." "The purists," Vance breathed, memories flooding back. "We thought they were just anti-colony zealots, but they had inside help." "The highest levels," Pierce confirmed. "When they attacked the Genesis facility, they didn't just destroy it, they took the core technology. And now, after 5 years of silence, they're back to finish what they started," Talia finished, her augmented eye glowing intensely as she processed the implications. Suddenly, the laboratory's lights flickered, and all displays went dark. Emergency power kicked in as alarms began blaring throughout the colony. "Multiple breaches in sectors 7 through 12, the colony AI announced. Unknown forces have penetrated our outer defenses." Talia was already moving, her military training taking over. "Marcus, initiate emergency protocols. Dr. Singh, get to the secure medical facility. Director Pierce, we need to evacuate all non-essential personnel." "What about me?" Vance asked, though the look in his eyes suggested he already knew the answer. Talia turned to him, and in that moment, something passed between them, an understanding that went beyond words. "You're with me." Those legs weren't just built for walking. As they rushed to the armory, Vance's quantum-enhanced mind was already calculating possibilities. "The maintenance tunnels," he said. "I know every inch of them. The purists might have breached our outer defenses, but they don't know what's beneath their feet. You're suggesting we use your old domain against them?" A fierce smile crossed Talia's face as she began distributing weapons. "I like it." They quickly assembled a small team of colonial defense forces, with Vance taking point. His intimate knowledge of the tunnel system, combined with his enhanced capabilities, made him the perfect guide for this desperate counteroffensive. As they descended into the familiar darkness of the maintenance tunnels, Vance felt a strange sense of coming full circle. These passages had been his refuge, his prison, and now they might be the colony's salvation. Multiple hostiles detected in adjacent sectors, one of the soldiers reported, checking his scanner. "They're using some kind of energy field to mask their movements." "That's Genesis tech," Vance confirmed grimly. "But they don't know these tunnels like I do. There are maintenance drones down here that I modified years ago, we can repurpose them." Talia nodded, trusting his expertise. "Do it. Whatever they're planning, we need every advantage we can get." As Vance interfaced with his old drone network, he caught Talia watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. There was respect there, certainly, but something else too, something that made his heart race in a way that had nothing to do with combat readiness. But there was no time to explore those feelings. The colony was under attack, and the very technology that had once cost him his legs was being used to threaten everything and everyone he had come to care about. The purists had made a grave mistake, though. They hadn't counted on finding a man who had literally risen from the depths, enhanced by the very progress they sought to stop, and driven by a determination that no amount of zealotry could match. As his drones came online and his team moved into position, Vance made a silent vow. This time, he wouldn't just survive, he would protect this colony and the future it represented, no matter the cost. The real battle was about to begin, and the shadows that had haunted him for 5 years were finally about to meet their match. The maintenance tunnels echoed with the sound of weapons fire and the hum of Genesis-based technology. Vance led his team through the winding passages, his cybernetic legs processing environmental data faster than human reflexes could manage. Above them, the colony shuddered under the purists' assault. 2 squads approaching from Junction T7, Vance whispered, his enhanced sensory input detecting vibrations through the metal flooring. My drones are in position. Talia signaled the team to take cover as Vance activated his modified maintenance drones. The machines emerged from hidden recesses, their simple maintenance protocols reprogrammed into devastating efficiency. The purist forces never saw them coming. Clear, Vance announced after the brief but intense skirmish. But they're getting closer to the central core. If they reach the colony's quantum processors, they could destabilize the entire terraforming grid, Talia finished, her augmented eye scanning through layers of infrastructure. We need to reach the control hub. As they moved deeper into the tunnel network, Vance noticed something odd about the purists' movement patterns. They're not just attacking randomly, he realized. They're herding the colonists toward specific sectors. Gathering them for something, one of the soldiers suggested grimly. A sudden explosion rocked the tunnel, causing support beams to groan ominously. Through a newly formed breach in the ceiling, they could see purist troops deploying some kind of device in the colony's main concourse. That's Genesis tech, Vance said, his voice tight with recognition. But it's been modified. The energy signature is all wrong. Talia's augmented eye zoomed in on the device. It's some kind of quantum field generator. They're creating a containment zone. Understanding dawned on Vance's face. They're not just trying to destroy the colony, they're trying to prove a point. They want to show everyone what happens when humanity reaches too far. Another explosion rocked the structure, and part of the tunnel began to collapse. Without thinking, Vance activated the full power of his cybernetic legs, launching himself toward Talia. The quantum processors calculated the trajectory perfectly as he tackled her out of the way of falling debris. They landed hard, Vance's enhanced body shielding her from the impact. For a moment, they stayed there, faces inches apart, hearts racing from more than just adrenaline. Nice moves, Talia said softly, her augmented eye glowing faintly in the dust-filled air. I had a good teacher, Vance replied, helping her up. The rest of their team had taken cover in a side passage, but they were now cut off from their original route. Commander, Marcus's voice crackled through their comms. The purists have activated multiple quantum field generators throughout the colony. They're creating some kind of resonance pattern. Dr. Singh's voice joined the channel. The energy readings matched the final moments before the Genesis disaster. They're trying to recreate it on a larger scale. Vance's mind raced, his quantum-enhanced processing speed allowing him to analyze possibilities faster than ever. The maintenance tunnels, he said suddenly. They run through the entire colony, connecting all major systems. If we can use them to disrupt the resonance pattern, we'd need to reach all the generators simultaneously, Talia pointed out. Even with your enhanced speed. Not me, Vance interrupted. My drones. They're already networked throughout the tunnel system. If we can modify them to emit a counter-frequency. Understanding lit up Talia's face. Marcus, can you help Vance reprogram the drones remotely? Already on it, the engineer replied. But someone will need to reach the central control hub to coordinate the disruption. Talia and Vance shared a look. We'll need a distraction, she said. I think I can help with that. Vance accessed his drone network, sending commands to units throughout the tunnels. Remember how I used to maintain colony systems without anyone knowing? Some of those modifications weren't exactly standard. Suddenly, throughout the colony, maintenance panels burst open. Drones emerged by the dozens, their simple repair tools now weapons against the purest forces. The surprise attack created chaos in the invaders' ranks. "That's our window," Talia announced. "Team Alpha, maintain pressure on the enemy forces. Vance and I will make for the control hub." As they moved through the tunnels, using routes only Vance knew, they could hear the battle raging above. The colony's future hung in the balance, and their only hope lay in reaching the control hub before the purists' quantum field generators reached critical resonance. "Why did you really come down to the tunnels that day?" Vance asked as they ran, his cybernetic legs easily keeping pace with Talia's enhanced reflexes. She glanced at him, her augmented eye glowing with intensity. The colony's systems kept showing mysterious improvements. "I wanted to find out why. I never expected to find a broken man hiding in the dark." "No," she said firmly. "A hero who never stopped fighting for humanity's future, even when humanity seemed to have forgotten him." Before Vance could respond, they reached the access point to the control hub. Through the reinforced doors, they could see purist forces guarding their objective. "Ready to show them what a broken man can do?" Talia asked, drawing her weapon. Vance's cybernetic legs hummed with power as he prepared for combat. "Ready to show them what we can do together." The future of New Aurora Colony, and perhaps humanity's dream of reaching the stars, would be decided in the next few minutes. As Vance and Talia prepared to make their final push, both knew that whatever happened, they would face it as one, a commander who saw beyond appearances and a man who had risen from the depths to become something extraordinary. The control hub's doors opened, and they charged forward into their destiny. The control hub erupted into chaos as Vance and Talia breached the entrance. His cybernetic legs propelled him through the air with inhuman grace, while her augmented combat reflexes made her a blur of precise strikes. Together, they moved like a perfectly choreographed dance of destruction. "The quantum field generators are reaching critical resonance." Marcus's voice crackled through their comms. 2 minutes until total system collapse. Vance's enhanced legs carried him across the room in a single bound, crushing a purist weapon before its wielder could fire. "Get to the main console," he called to Talia. "I'll hold them off." The purist forces converged on Vance, clearly recognizing the threat his cybernetic enhancements posed. But they hadn't counted on the years he'd spent maintaining these systems, learning every access panel and maintenance route. As they fired, he was already moving, using his intimate knowledge of the hub's layout to stay one step ahead. Their leader, Talia, called out as she fought her way to the console. "She looks familiar." Through the chaos, Vance caught sight of a figure standing near the main quantum field control unit, and his blood ran cold. "Dr. Winters," he breathed. She was lead researcher on the Genesis project. "Hello, Vance," the woman said, her voice carrying the same clinical detachment he remembered from 5 years ago. "I wondered if you had survived. Your modifications are impressive." "You betrayed everything we worked for," Vance growled, his cybernetic legs tensing for combat. "People died in that disaster. I lost my legs. We lost our humanity the moment we decided to spread our corruption to the stars," Winters replied. "The Genesis project wasn't meant to help humanity expand, it was meant to prove why we shouldn't." Talia's fingers flew across the control console. Quantum field resonance at 85% and climbing. "Vance, whatever we're going to do, it needs to happen now." "Your drones can't stop this," Winters said, holding up a quantum detonator. "The resonance pattern is locked. In 1 minute, this colony will demonstrate why humanity should remain earthbound." But Vance smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Winters pause. "You forgot something, Doctor. Something important about the Genesis project." His cybernetic legs hummed with power as he took a step forward. "It was never about the technology. It was about adaptation. Evolution. Humanity's ability to overcome any obstacle. "Marcus," he called out. "Execute Protocol Omega." Throughout the colony, Vance's modified maintenance drones suddenly changed their behavior. Instead of attacking, they moved to specific points in the tunnel network, positioning themselves at key structural nodes. "The quantum processors in my legs," Vance explained, taking another step toward Winters. "They're not just for movement. They're exact copies of the original Genesis project cores I helped design." Understanding dawned on Winters' face. "No." "Yes," Talia said from the console, her augmented eye glowing with triumph. "His neural network is interfacing with the drone system right now, creating a counter-resonance field." The hub's displays showed the quantum field resonance patterns shifting, changing as Vance's neural network synchronized with his drone army. Each machine became a node in a vast web, their simple maintenance protocols transformed into something extraordinary by the quantum processors in his cybernetic enhancement. "You wanted to prove humanity shouldn't reach for the stars," Vance said, his voice strained with the effort of maintaining the neural interface. "Instead, you proved why we must. Because no matter what we lose, no matter how far we fall, we adapt. We rebuild. We rise." The quantum field generators began to overload, but not in the way Winters had planned. The counter-resonance created by Vance's neural network cascaded through the system, harmlessly dissipating the destructive energy. "It's over, Doctor," Talia announced, training her weapon on Winters. "Your demonstration failed." As colonial security forces swarmed the hub, Vance's legs finally gave out. Talia caught him before he could fall, supporting him as the strain of interfacing with the entire drone network took its toll. "I've got you," she whispered, holding him close. "I've always got you." Hours later, as the colony began its recovery, Vance stood at a viewport watching the sunset on their alien world. His legs had recovered from the overload, though Dr. Singh insisted on running a complete diagnostic. "Credit for your thoughts?" Talia asked, joining him at the window. "Just thinking about choices," he replied. 5 years ago, I chose to hide in the darkness. Let everyone think I was dead. And now?" He turned to face her, taking in her fierce beauty, the determination that matched his own. "Now I choose the light. Whatever comes next, whatever challenges we face out here among the stars, I want to face them standing tall. Together." Talia's augmented eye glowed softly as she smiled. "Together," she agreed, taking his hand. Beyond the viewport, the alien sun set on New Aurora Colony. The Genesis technology, once twisted to hold humanity back, had instead become a symbol of their resilience. And in the end, it wasn't the technology that had saved them, but the very thing the purists had sought to deny: humanity's endless capacity to adapt, to overcome, to rise from the depths stronger than before. Vance's legs hummed softly as he stood beside Talia, both of them watching their home's twin moons rise. They had trials ahead, rebuilding the colony, integrating the Genesis technology safely, exploring the frontiers of human potential. But they would face those challenges as they had faced this one, standing together, proving that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in remaining safe on Earth, but in reaching for the stars with hope, determination, and courage. The maintenance tunnels below would remain as a reminder of where their journey had begun, but their path now led upward, toward a future as boundless as space itself. In the control hub behind them, Marcus and Dr. Singh were already discussing improvements to Vance's cybernetic systems, inspired by how he had interfaced with the drone network. The Genesis technology would live on, not as a weapon, but as a tool to help humanity reach its full potential. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all.